It's not that bad being dead. Surprising, really, when you think about it. I mean, everyone always seems so very terrified of the whole thing, weeping and moaning and spending years of anguish brooding about the possibility of an afterlife. And yet, here I lay in peaceful repose, quiet, pain-free, without a care in the world, doing nothing more metaphysically complicated than remembering my last meal, an excellent pastrami sandwich. It was brought to me still warm only 40 minutes ago as I sat in a comfy folding chair, and I remember wondering, where did they find such succulent pastrami in Miami nowadays? The pickle was quite tasty, too, and just to be ethnically authentic, I'd had a cream soda with it, something I hadn't tried in a very long time. Delicious. Altogether a culinary experience that made being dead seem like a very minor inconvenience. Although, to be truthful, which is sometimes unavoidable, lying here unmoving on the pavement was starting to get just the tiniest bit tedious. I really hoped I would be discovered soon. Death was not really enough to keep the mind occupied, and it seemed like I had been here quite a while. I know it might not seem like the first thing you would object to about being dead, long hours and no real challenge to the work, but there it was. I was bored. And the pavement underneath me was hot and beginning to feel very hard. On top of that, there was a puddle of sticky red nastiness spreading out around me that made me feel quite uncomfortable. Of course, I mean it would have made me feel uncomfortable if I had actually been alive. But if nothing else, it was certainly unsightly. I must look terribly unattractive. Another odd concern for the newly dead, perhaps, but true. I was bound to be an uninviting sight. It was unavoidable. There's very little charm to a corpse killed by gunshot wounds, and no dignity at all to lying in the street in the Miami sunlight and waiting in a pool of sticky red mess for someone to find your body. And when my poor bullet-riddled corpse was discovered at last, there would not even be a genuine flood of sentiment, no heartfelt outpouring of anguish and regret. Not that I ever found real emotion terribly moving, but still, one would like to be really mourned, wouldn't one? But not today. Not for poor dead Dexter. After all, who could mourn a monster like me? No, it would be purely pro forma, even less convincing than usual, and I of all people could not really complain. I had spent my entire professional life, and a great deal of very rewarding hobby time, around dead bodies. I knew very well that the most natural reaction to finding a gore-soaked corpse was something like, "Ooh, gross," as your finder guzzles an energy drink and turns up the volume on the iPod. Even that was more honest than the overblown and empty teeth-gnashing I knew I would get when my pitiful corpse was discovered. I could not even hope for a classy statement of grief and loss like, "Alas, poor Dexter." Nobody says alas anymore. For that matter, I doubt anyone really feels it nowadays either. No, there would be little real grief for dear departed Dexter. No one can express it for the simple reason that no one is capable of feeling it. I may be the only one honest enough to admit that I don't, but I have never seen any compelling evidence that anyone else does either. People are far too callous and fickle, and even in the best of times, which this was not, I could hope for no more than a moment of revulsion at the compost heap that was my human, more or less, body, and a twinge of irritation at having one more mess to deal with. And then no doubt the conversation would turn to football or plans for the weekend, and the memory of my pastrami sandwich would last far longer than anyone's sense of loss at my untimely demise. But, after all, there was no alternative. I just had to make the best of it, and lie here like a lox until I was discovered, which seemed to me to be a long overdue event. I had been sprawled here in direct sunlight for at least half an hour. Can a corpse get a sunburn? I was certain dead people avoided tanning booths, even in zombie movies, but here in the midday sun, was it possible for dead skin to tan? It didn't seem right. We all like to think of cadavers as pale and ghostly, and a healthy sun-kissed epidermis would certainly spoil the effect.